this. Okay. Well,
Oh,
we
I get
are
Delta 9.
Delta 9. Yeah, Delta 9's the stuff that's legal now. That stuff's pretty good.
I'm glad we started with that when we went live.
Oh, yeah, right? Me too. That's how I wanted to present it. Hello. Well, okay, we're talking about an anime called Jujutsu Kaisen today. We're reviewing the first three episodes, and we both watched it separate so that we could have different takes on this. And just starting it right off the bat, this is Mike here joining me. Mike, how's it going?
It's going well. Glad to be here today. Love to talk
Uh,
about anime and mythology.
yes, sir. What are we calling this again? This is myths and anime. That's what we're calling this. Jujutsu Kaisen 1 through 3. A hero is born.
I like the vocal question. Really adds to the punch.
Oh, thank you. Well, uh, right off the bat, I have the story kind of gives our boy the death sentence here. It very much opens pretty grim. The main protagonist is all tied up in this crazy room, and it's just not looking good. Like, it kind of gives you a tone for the show a little bit with all these crazy spiritual things going on, all the candles lit everywhere.
They say that your first sentence has to grab the reader, and so I really appreciate a show that opens with something interesting, right? The death sentence of the main character in this case sort of sets the framing and gets your interest up before they loop back to a bunch of the explanatory material that maybe happens a little slower.
Yeah, gosh, in anime they can really word soup things. They can just throw a bunch of dialogue at you, and at the end you're just bored with it instead of showing you something like this can.
Well, I think it's particularly important for this, where the next step is just a generic high school environment for much of the rest of the episode. And so I'm sure they were thinking, oh, if we just open with some kids at a high school, nothing will make this stand out in our manga or our anime. So let's open with the punchline and then we can come back to it later.
And watching these first three episodes we're going to go through, you're going to see it's not really your average shonen.
There's been a lot of talk about how parts of it are similar to something like Naruto, but I think as we get into it, you'll see there's a lot more to it than just a Naruto copy.
Yeah, I'll draw some comparisons for sure to that later. It is my favorite anime. I can't help myself. I know I'm a scrub. Moving on, they got a nice little intro here. A lot of highlights and things, different neons, and I don't know that intro. Like, I guess there's a meme where it just goes with everything.
It really does. That's one
Hmm.
of my favorite things about anime is the flashes very often don't make sense unless you've, say, read the comic or seen the later parts of the season.
Or even anything at all. Like, why is there a finger in the water? What significance is the finger? We'll get there.
And so this is what I meant about they wanted to open with some punch because it immediately loops back to just some high school student's family relationship and the complexity of his life and just day-to-day moments.
You know, starting off too, they immediately kind of, yeah, it's pretty grim, and you get a sense of the mortality of things and the folks in the show really quickly. Um, you get an idea of what the stakes are almost immediately, and
Well, I think this part in particular is good world building, right? Because immediately before this, they're talking about sort of having an occult club at their high school as this goofy after school club that doesn't necessarily do anything super serious. But then we see this like scene at night where they're opening up this case, and it's showing that there's sort of this deeper level where the club activity is real, and then here we're seeing the actual like people come and investigate the mystery that the cult club was talking about.
I thought that was pretty cool how they did that. Um, I thought that was in the second episode that they got to that, but
I might be
maybe I
ahead by a
just
scene. It might actually be the next scene that cuts to the cult club, because I think it's cutting between the two, where the guy in black, Fushiguro, is essentially from the sorcery world investigating a mystery at the same time that the regular high school kids, Itadori, the one with pink hair, are talking about. And so it begins to weave the main character into this deeper plot by sort of showing how it's happening for real, even as the club thinks it's just this fantasy that's sort of pretend and silly. I think I actually got ahead. It's like another 10 seconds forward.
I don't remember what Fush. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is what I thought was interesting is that Yuji, the main character, he was already into the occult, like and all this crazy stuff before anything happened, like investigating these kinds of disappearances. I thought that was weird. Like he kind of already had experiences with this stuff.
I think it's an interesting segue of how their like silly high school club intersects with this very serious world of curses and harsh reality.
Yeah, yeah. Except the one that they're about to get into is way more punishing, like you were saying.
Yeah.
There's a
The
real
scene
stark
after this,
comparison.
I guess, really sort of sets the tone well.
See, yeah, from this you would think it's just your average like hokey poke anime that they're gonna be. Yeah, see, like there are crazy on like goings on, and they are legitly investigating them, and they're just getting written off as like ticks biting people, and they're getting sick all of a sudden.
Well, and they show that I think a little later on, the one that they claim was actually a cursed spirit really was. In this scene, they're talking about how several football players have gone sick. And later we see Fushiguro actually observe a curse on the football field, or rugby players.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. So this guy comes back and investigates that area, and he's legit talking about exactly what they were talking about. That's so amazing. I love that. Oh, here we get to see the showcase of how this kid is just stupid strong already, like for no reason.
Completely unexplained.
It is. It is. Like he's got the shonen protag strength, but like he just has it. And I kind of like everyone's reactions to it. Like just throughout, he's just completely dumbfounding people at his strength, and they can't get the grips on why he's like this. This guy later, he's gonna watch him just take off from school, and he just jets like he's just gone, man. There it is. Let's see if I can get it to play out here. And he hears somebody say how fast he can go, and he's just like, "What? Freaking what?" Like this guy's a spirit hunter or whatever, and he's impressed with this average kid. That's just what I think they're in the same grade, right?
Yep,
They're both first years.
correct.
But here he's been going to Jujutsu High for how long now?
I'm not sure. I mean, he grew up as part of the sorcery world, so he's known about this since he was a kid.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. See, now Mike's already got a really good grip on the show, whereas I'm coming in pretty new, but I've watched a little bit into it now. I thought it was really good, and Mike had the idea of just reviewing the thing, so we're doing it.
It's pretty fun. This next scene is one of the, I guess, sort of main ones of the episode where Itadori goes to visit his grandfather in the hospital for the last time.
Yeah, he's kind of brushing off his grandpa, trying to act all cool and stuff, and that's what he's saying. He's like, "Oh, you're just trying to act cool. Quit saying stuff to say stuff and all this." And he's just giving him the shoulder, But he's bringing flowers. He's saying they're for the nurses, but they're obviously for his granddad. And then his granddad just says something that really sets up Itadori for the series here, and um,
I mean, in an
it kind of
understated
plays
way,
into
it's his
the
Uncle Ben moment, right? His
yeah.
grandfather starts talking about how he's strong and he needs to protect others, how it's okay if sometimes he stumbles, he just needs to do his best and protect the people he can. And then he dies.
And yeah, he's just gone. He rolls over. I don't even think I can freaking. Here we go. It happens so quick. Yep. And then he has to call it in and everything. It has a really big focus on mortality just right off the bat. This whole show does.
I think two of the biggest themes of this show are power and death,
Mm,
which is partly why I want to review it, because I think this is one that covers much better than other, let's say, kids or teenage focused entertainment on covering what do you really do with power? What does it get you and what can it not do?
yeah, it was a really powerful moment when he had to call that in. It was brutal. More than any other show, they show basically the whole process and the in between all the action and everything else in this normal kid's life. Like you have to see him have his grandfather wheeled away and him pack his things out of the room he's been coming to, and just give casual smiles when he's been crying.
And then the main darker plot intrudes, quite
Yeah,
literally.
yeah, and then these guys barge in like, "Hey, bro, I know you're literally grieving, and you're gonna tell me you are,
But this is one
but
of the
it's time
things
to
I think
go
the show does
because
really well is showing, not telling, how this darker truth intrudes on the everyday life of people and the just normal high school life of Itadori in particular.
it completely changes the mood too. Even though it's such a sad scene, it's brighter than anything that involves these guys usually. So then this kind of sets up for basically the real world and what's been going on just under Itadori's nose or everyone's nose. It explains like there's thousands and thousands of deaths a year are related to curses, and eventually here it kind of sets up what to expect a little bit from curses with like, okay, so if you see a curse now, there's going to be death.
Yep. It also leads us back to the action where it turns out Fushiguro was following a false lead in chasing down Itadori, and that's not where the cursed object actually was.
Yeah, it turned out that the cursed object was just that strong that it left such a presence on just the box that it was held in, and it was empty. Yep.
And so this starts to set up the conflict where Itadori is no longer the victim. He's now part of the party going to deal with the problem.
For reasons kind of unexplained. Yeah, he just has to help now because, uh, well, not even unexplained. He gave this thing to his friends, so now he's immediately involved. The people in his little occult club are very much now in grave danger from something they thought was impossible.
Right. To them, this is just antics or high school fascination. They don't believe this is a dangerous item.
Can I just say that these guys run like a freaking a bicyclist?
Right.
They're just freaking gone, dude. That scene in motion is actually pretty great. Hang on. All right. So they get to the school, and you get to lay your eyes on the first curse of this show. The first couple of curses here, and they're kind of grotesque looking things. They're I think they might be drawn at a completely different frame rate actually than everything else in the show.
Oh, interesting.
Hmm. And they use a different art style too, very apparently. But
It makes
it
them stand
really,
out as a little unearthly, which I appreciate.
yes, it makes them kind of unsettle you a little bit from something normal like the if you in this scene is a perfect example to talk about this with. The like there's a big juxtaposition between these two next to each other.
Though, to be honest, I find the more human curses to be the less settling ones. That when it's a monster, it's okay. When they start looking human is when it becomes unfortunate.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. How different things will affect their intelligence. That's an interesting one. So we'll start rounding out the first episode, and
I mean, this is the
Itadori's
usual
friends.
shonen trope, right? The hero busts in, he saves his
Yeah,
friend at the last moment when everyone's in trouble.
beats the crap out of it with his normal strength, right? Like his normal strength was able to take down this little curse here, and then homeboy with the demon dogs comes in for the save and just finishes it off. I love these things, by the way. They're drawn at the same rate and everything as the curses,
Mhm.
which, if I remember correctly, they're kind of curses too, aren't they?
Um, yeah, sort of.
Sort of.
They're not curses, they're like shikigami, which means they're closer to like a puppet, but they're also made out of spiritual energy like a curse. And so you can think of it like most shows have some kind of summon, right? And so these are the summons of Jujutsu Kaisen.
Okay, I got you. So that'll be interesting to get into later, I'm sure. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of them, actually. So he saves his friends and catches the cursed object off of his friend here. So she was able to see curses, which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know if you caught that about her,
Mm. Hmm.
but um, jujutsu sorcerers, they kind of say later, are supposed to be pretty rare. So I thought that was interesting. So homeboy gets the finger and he's about to turn it over to this guy. Like he's told that that demons will eat this to get power. That are not demons. Curses will eat this to gain like more cursed energy. So
Yeah.
he's about to give it over, and an even bigger curse is drawn to this thing because of its cursed energy. You know, it's just massive, massive energy, and curses want that. So a big fight ensues, and things are just getting very bad for the protagonists. Um, Did you have anything in your notes before this next big plot point comes up here?
Nope, just the usual. Oh, we saved everyone. Wait, no, there's another baddie. Oh, let's fight harder. Right? I mean, this part is very much just a trope. And so it's well animated, and I would recommend watching it on that basis, but it's not going to be a deeply insightful part of the plot.
This next part sets up basically the whole show, though.
Hmm.
So Itadori remembers his grandpa's words, and in the only thing that he thinks he can do in that moment, he goes ahead and
Eats the
yeah,
finger.
yeah, he ate the finger. I couldn't freaking grab the grab the screen thing, but yeah, he freaking swallows the finger to gain spirit energy, and immediately gets taken over by the curse that was giving off that powerful energy from before.
Right. And so many of the powerful spirits that would normally consume that finger are strong enough to win out and retain control. The problem is Itadori immediately gets possessed because he has no background in this.
Oh, excuse me.
And you can see here he
I
just
just want
starts.
to note how dummy strong Itadori really was before all this, by the way.
Yeah. It comes back in a couple moments here in the future.
Yeah. So that's the episode end there, and it kind of sets up the relationship, the dynamic between the two. They're very very different. This kid right here who ate the finger, and this thing here.
And so this is why we see a lot of the comparisons with Naruto and Sasuke, because you have the one with the black hair who's experienced and capable, and then you have the cursed one with lighter color hair who's kind of goofy. But I think those two characters are actually very different from each other, or those two sets, right? Itadori isn't really Naruto. He one had a more wholesome family life, and two is an outcast from the village in a sense, right? We just saw him have friends and get along with people. Similarly, Fushiguro isn't Sasuke in that he also doesn't have the same tragic backstory. And while his relationship with his clan isn't great, they're still alive. He's just very low ranking, and he's not the younger brother of some mass murderer or anything like that. Right. So
Why,
so
big
the
brother?
deep-seated trauma that you see in the Naruto series isn't necessarily here for the protagonists. They have much more average backgrounds.
So we learned that the name of the curse that he's just absorbed is Ryomen Sukuna, and yeah, that's kind of all I've got for episode one here. Very interesting. And now, since Itadori is a curse, he states that Itadori must be destroyed or killed. You know, he can't be allowed to live now, according to the laws of their society. You know, the Jujutsu law.
I think the real crux of this episode is the scene with his grandfather's death where he is called on to be a hero. Where his grandpa like gives this speech about it, and maybe we can play just that short little clip because it's really worth it to hear.
Yeah, I think so too.
Huh? You're a strong kid, so try to help others. Save the people you can, even if it's only those closest to you. It's okay if you lose your way, and don't worry about whether they'll thank you or not. Just save as many as you can, even if you can only save one. When you die, you should be surrounded by people. Don't end up like me.
So, because of this, Itadori has ideals about what a proper death is, and we'll get into that later too.
I think that summary is really a lot about what the show is. The story comes to be exploring that value, at least through Itadori. And other characters have their own motivations, which is something I really enjoy about this show. Everyone is doing it for their own reasons and with their own beliefs.
Yeah, the motivations, I've seen a little bit about that from the other two, but we get introduced more to them in the second and third episode, which is coming up right soon here. So let's stop sharing this, and that's the end of episode 1 there.
Give me just 20
Hopefully,
seconds to go grab another cup of coffee. I'll be right back for episode 2.
absolutely. Let me switch on over. In the meantime, sorry, I'm just kind of doing stuff. Hopefully, I can kind of edit this up and get a nice video out of this, huh? I'm just full screening stuff, and it's totally legit. I bought this from legit sources, most definitely, totally. Yes, definitely, totally. Okay, now it won't full screen. It won't full screen. Do it, dang it. Let me switch to episode 2 here. I got just notes that I took throughout the episodes to do this. I think it works pretty well.
Gotta love the notes.
Yeah, I think they work pretty decent. They're helping me stay on track for the most part. I don't think I've gone too far off of where I'm trying to stay, but I feel like I could say more at the same time.
I mean, there's always going to be more to say. The show is, I guess, like the best story is at once a retelling of the standard sort of shonen tropes about, oh, look at the team being heroes and fighting monsters. But it does it with a certain awareness and sophistication to the philosophy behind things or why people are doing things that I think a lot of other series lack. And if you haven't noticed from the fact his grandpa died in the first episode, they're willing to go there.
Yeah, they're not shy about death. That's a very big theme in this show. So I'm thinking of like chopping this. I don't know if you heard when you went away for a sec, but I'm gonna probably chop up this live and make it just a video.
Makes sense?
Yeah, because I mean I hate all my ums and ahs and I don't like it when I listen to it. I'm like, how can you stand that?
The good 5-minute pause between episodes, yeah.
Yeah. That way it's nice and quick and concise.
And will sound smarter because all the dumb things got taken out.
Right? All right, so I have to pull it back up also because it wasn't zooming in, which is kind of a big problem for the format we're going for.
Who called me? Did anyone call me? Thought I heard my phone.
So in the moment that Itadori ate that finger, those words that we actually played out kind of rang back in his mind. His grandfather's words, kind of like kind of like Spider-Man and Uncle Ben. Mike made the comparison earlier, I believe.
Yep. And that'll come back a few times throughout this series where he's reflecting on why he's doing these things.
Sometimes very forcibly. Okay, I freaking got it, boys. Okay, so coming right off the ass of the hey Sean D, what's up, man? Coming right off the ass of this the first episode. Now Itadori is getting another death sentence, besides the one he got at the beginning of the series. Um, So now this person that's kind of been walking with him and everything, and yeah, he's just gonna try to take him down. But it seems to be the same guy. But now you know something is crazy up with him, and his that permanent little eye thing is on him. I don't want to play this, but that permanent little eye thing is on him.
Where the other eyes were originally, yeah, or the extra eyes, I guess.
Let's see, I think it did a close up early on. Yeah, here we go. These little things. I always thought that was very Naruto-esque too. How now he's got like little slits on his face or whatever you want to call them. I think they're supposed to be whiskers for Naruto.
Yep. Here it's just the extra two eyes he has when possessed as Sukuna are shut when he's Itadori.
I guess that's just the best his body could do to fend it off. But yeah, that's just possession, man. All right. And then this guy shows up. Right
so
off
the first
the
thing he
bat.
does is just make fun of Fushiguro for getting beat up, right? He doesn't care. He's just like, oh yeah, I was in the neighborhood having a vacation, and oh man, look at you getting beat up. Ha ha, I'm going to show this to everyone. Right? So great teacher here.
It really shows you the vibe of this character and sets up who he is. He also very much brags about his strength here.
As you see, he brought a bag of snacks with him.
Yeah, he was just out getting snacks, and he's like, "Hey."
Yeah, well, this whole incident, the school was going down. This guy was out getting snacks.
So his student reports to him that this dude ate that frickin' curse, and now he comes up and he looks at him, and he can tell somehow that his body is completely changed, and he says something about his body being really weird here. I thought that was interesting, but it's most likely just because he ate the curse now, not because of anything his body wasn't normally, but still something that I thought was interesting.
In fact, the scene following this is comical because he asks Itadori to switch back with the curse possessing him, and then throws his snacks to a student, being like, make sure these stay safe. And it's at that point he realizes, wait, no, my teacher really went to get snacks instead of handling this situation in the first place.
So immediately out of nowhere, he does change back. He says what did he give him, 10 minutes?
10 seconds.
Oh, 10 seconds. So he says in 10 seconds, change back. So he gives him 10 seconds with this absolute freaking demon, and he's just showing off on him, styling the whole time. And
right.
This demon's been hyped up since like throughout the whole first episode. He's like, oh, it's one of the most powerful freaking curses out there. You got to be careful.
It's clear he's just playing around, right? This whole thing is just goofs.
He gives off so many Kakashi vibes, it's insane.
I would say the gap with him is even bigger than with Kakashi.
Oh, no doubt. This guy, he immediately comes in, says he's the best, and backs it up.
And that's another sort of facet of the themes of power in this show, right? There's different expressions of it. One of them is the powerful demon controlling Itadori and what he's going to make of this fate he's been handed. Another one is just his teacher is absurdly powerful and just doesn't even care.
A theme I noticed throughout these 3 episodes, or throughout the early parts of the show, I guess, is that this guy just gets it handed to him all the time. It's just
He takes L's like
Injuries
nameless
and
Genos.
recuperation over and over. Yes, he's the Genos of this show.
And so this brings us back to the original execution scene, now with context of how Itadori got his death sentence in the first place.
Yes, he is a curse, and therefore by law he must die. And you know, it's interesting because Itadori in this scene, he takes accountability for giving his friends that finger, even though he never could have foreseen the outcome of that seemingly harmless event.
I mean, he didn't even know curses were a thing.
Right, but he takes full responsibility for it, and I don't know. I think that sets him up for either having good morals or a very one-way mindset.
And so here's where I guess the second part of the journey to being a hero happens, right? In the first episode, we hear the like call to heroism from his grandpa. And here's the scene where Gojo offers him a quest as the sort of like mentor figure, right? Help us destroy the rest of these fingers now that you've shown you have some level of resistance to them.
So he reveals that these curses can't be destroyed even with like power like Dragon Ball Z level right here. He just freaking energy blasts it, and he's like, nope, can't be broken even by me. But if somebody can absorb the 20 fingers, so he asks what, like 10 toes, 10 fingers, is that what we're talking about? And he reveals that no, Sukuna had, 4 arms. And all of his fingers got cut off when he got sealed away. So now these all lie somewhere in the world as cursed objects that need to be dealt with. So they need to become one, and then Itadori is to die. Now, something interesting here. Well, something interesting that I thought anyway. Yeah, here's him. He goes and he visits his friend from the occult club that got injured from this last event here, and he just tells them, "Yeah, it was all me. It was my fault. It wasn't yours. I give you a cursed object," and he just tells them everything flat out.
Yep. I believe you saw the monster. It's called a curse. This was my fault for giving it to you. I'm sorry.
And then he walks out. And from this girl's perspective, this guy probably seems a bit like a psychopath. And here's a lot more focus on death here. Is he's sitting at his grandfather's cremation here, and his sensei or teacher or whatever comes and asks who died, and he explains or whatever, and he says, "Sorry you had to deal with this in such a bad time and everything." But yeah, that focus on death is just here to stay for a while. It just keeps on coming back.
And this is one of the times that we essentially see a flashback to his grandfather's words, where as they're going into the crematorium to put the bones in a case and clean up the ashes, a little bit ahead of here. Well,
Yeah.
This is the scenery from the school, but
Vicky.
We see those words come back to sort of put a point on what Gojo, the teacher, is talking about in terms of using his power to help people and how he can do this as something to find purpose even in his execution.
So his teacher kind of sets up more of an idea of what he'll be dealing with here in his day to day, and he says that finding somebody dismembered may be a good death. maybe like one of the better deaths that you'll see. Here's that scene you were talking about.
And so as we come into the ashes at the end of, well, taking this path will probably end miserably, right? Everyone who becomes a jujutsu sorcerer meets an untimely end in a horrible way. But then his grandfather's words come back as he's packing the ashes and bones into this case. And it's then that he accepts Gojo's call towards the quest, where he sort of eats the second finger and accepts the mission and his role in it.
And his body again proves a certain resistance to this curse that is just abnormal. Something I noticed that was really interesting here were Itadori's words. Because he never really agreed to anything here. He never said he would let them kill him. Did you notice that? Like in the English dub, I don't know about the Japanese. Let's see.
So have you got...
In your fate?
Yeah, okay. So his teacher asks him that, or his teacher assumes that he's chosen, like he's resigned himself to his fate. And he says something interesting here.
Not at all. I still don't understand why I have to be executed. But I know I can't just do nothing. Grandpa, that last request of yours is gonna be a pain in the ass.
I don't want to play too much of the music here, but
My...
Grandpa, that last request...
come on here. He basically says he's already chosen how he's gonna die.
You're gonna... After that, I don't care. As far as how I'm gonna die, I've already decided.
So in no way does he agree to anything that this dude told
I wonder
him.
if
You know?
that's a translation thing, because in the dubs, or sorry, the subtitled of the Japanese one, it comes through somewhat differently in the scene. Right, Gojo like leads into this talking about outside on the park bench how you have to choose your hell, and that's when it cuts through to his grandpa's like remains with the flashback to his words about how he should help people. And then Itadori eats the second finger and just laughs about how the last words are going to be a pain in his butt, similar phrasing. But then Gojo just laughs and says, "This is going to be a fun hell." There's no like open question about the fact he accepted the deal. It's a little more clear
Straightforward.
that he's carrying through on their conversation from before.
Okay. Dang it, English dub, you failed me again. I thought that was interesting.
Well, see, I don't know if this is just me misunderstanding the subtitles. So I find it interesting there's two versions to it.
I wonder what the manga actually says word for word. That'd be interesting to look at. Maybe I can put that in post here, right here.
Oh, that will depend on which translation you get.
Oh, great, of course. Well, I should get the accurate one to whatever the writer said, huh?
The problem is Viz rewrites it a little bit when they translate from Japanese to English. Right? The question of how you would translate the Japanese sense of fatalism and "I chose my death while eating the finger." It could both be the sense you have or the sense of, well, I've accepted this is my duty.
I love he comes out and he says, "You look great." And he's like beat to shit. That was so good. Darth and Vicky, you're in the chat. You guys are great. Thanks for coming. We just reviewing some anime.
What up, Darth? And so he buries his grandfather before he takes off to now attend this new high school.
So at this point, you've seen the entire process of somebody dying in this area or in this culture. Basically, from being wheeled away from the hospital bed to being cremated to being laid to rest at a resting place. And you never see that kind of focus on death in a show. Like, never. Not unless they're just outright showing it to you throughout the whole thing, like start to finish. But it's just flashing by in this for it's not even for effect, it's just for, like, I think it's giving you context of what you'll be seeing.
I mean, I think it definitely sets the tone, right? That this is going to be a bit more serious and even introspective than you might expect for what is essentially a teenage comic book.
So Yuji gets told that now he's going to the same high school that other kid is from, that he fought the monsters with. There's Sukuna with his forearms here. I like this. He looks a lot like dang it, what's his name? Asura from Asura's Wrath.
I don't know if I've seen that.
It's a PlayStation 3 game, but it's like an anime in its own right. Definitely worth a watch or a playthrough.
And this scene is... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, please.
I was going to say, the scene between Itadori and Gojo actually sets up one of the main themes and sort of conflicts is how does hierarchy relate to power? Because the demon, when that mouth pops out, starts teasing Gojo about, oh, you're the strongest, but you're not in charge here. Any hierarchy other than strength is worthless. And it's very clear that's not Gojo's opinion, right? Because he's not acting out on that. But it starts to develop one of the sort of themes about how power works that you'll see recurring in this show.
Sukuna was, just immediately just outraged that Gojo wouldn't be the boss in this hierarchy here, because this guy is just assumed to be weaker than him.
I mean, he's not wrong.
How did he have one fight with that dude and he's just like, oh yeah, you're the strongest, all right. Ryomen Sukuna.
It's because he attacked him and couldn't even touch him. Right. At the very end of their fight in the first scene, Itadori, while possessed, launches an attack at Gojo and Fushiguro that just doesn't even reach them. And here we see another trait of Gojo where he shows up 8 minutes late, which, according to the principal, is late, but not enough to be chastised for. So he chastises him for his habit of doing that.
And then Gojo says, if it's not worth chastising me, then don't chastise me. That was an interesting exchange. So that's another kind of quirky character. And, this little guy here sets up kind of the strangeness for the show that you'll see going forward, alongside the grim stuff that you'll see.
And so here he's asking Itadori why he's doing it. And because his answer was unsatisfactory, he sent one of his little puppets after him in order to tell him that, or fight him while he's still trying to answer the question.
He tells him that going at the rate he's going, he'll curse his grandfather, because he's saying that he wants to die trying to live out his grandfather's last request. and he said that he would blame his grandfather if he died now. His principal reminds him that curses in this world are manifested from negative energy that you have when you die.
And the
something
answer.
on the
Well, yeah, you should just play this. I was going to call it out.
Okay. So he kind of figures out his answer here, and it's this. Why the whole theme of this fight here, this was his principal is interviewing him to get in, depending on his answer of why he wants to do this. And this is his answer.
Consuming Sukuna is something only I can do. So even if I could escape my death sentence and run away from this responsibility, then someday I'd be eating food, taking a bath, or reading manga. In the moment I stopped to think, I'd go, oh, I bet that right now, somewhere out there, someone is dying because of Sukuna.
And he could have stopped it. So he thinks that because only he can do this, ignoring it and people dying, that's on him.
Yep. And so this is the answer that's finally accepted by the principal, who then says he can attend the school.
And he's happy about that. You know, he's visibly, he wants to go to the school, and he thinks it's going to be an interesting time. And he gets, I don't know, he gets popped again by this crazy little creature here. It's just such a stark comparison between the horrible monsters you'll see in this crazy zany stuff here.
I mean, even the puppet, its rage face while punching contrasted with its happy dance face is a really good example of how the show cuts between moods.
All right, so now he's getting moved into his little flat here, very bachelor patty. And he's told that he's going to have to fight too. Not that he had the option, but it was kind of set up that he might. And he had the idea of his friend coming with a finger every time, and he's just chilling there. I thought that was pretty funny. The show has interesting like comedy moments, and they do it right, even though it has such terrible down moments, you know.
Well, and that's really one of the best things is the contrasting tone of it.
Yeah, it's just not always bleak, you know, like your Berserk or things like that, where it's just all right. Get ready.
I think it's because at some level, Gojo has the same principle as All Might from My Hero Academia, where he believes in saving people with a smile, right? He's bringing levity to what would otherwise be very unfortunate and awkward circumstances.
Yeah, it shows how strangely positive the show can really be here, and the art style reflects the tone of the mood every time. And I thought that was really cool about the anime. I don't know if they do that so much in the manga. I really like the ending too. Actually, these are really good.
Their intro and outro are pretty solid. I think
Although
this
she reminds me
episode.
nothing of her.
I can tell who it's supposed to be, but it's
Yeah.
But I think this episode is where it really starts to sort of solidify some of the complexity to what is largely tropes, right? Even the grandfather's call to heroism in the first one isn't unstandard for a manga or an anime. But what you see here is the principal just sort of laughs at that as childish, right? He's like, no, you have to choose this for your own reasons, and you have to mean it for your own reasons, or you're just going to end up dying horrifically and cursing other people while you do. And so this is something where you're starting to see that youthful hero's journey optimism tempered by the I guess, reality of what it actually means to be a hero. That you have to, for your own reasons, make these choices that are going to take you into dark places. Or as Gojo put it, you have to choose your hell.
It kind of shows that there's just more psychology at play here than other shows. It caught me off guard when I was first watching this, actually. I was more expecting kind of your average run-of-the-mill shonen, and it clearly is telling you it's not that early on.
Well, and Gojo's another example of that, right? He's very silly. He shows up just late enough to not get in trouble. He brought snacks to a fight. But when he says he would kill Sukuna, he means it. Right? And so he's now this like contradiction that the show starts to explore between the frivolity and joking personality and the fact he really is the strongest.
Yeah, he just makes you want to see more and more of him. Easily the most interesting character in the show, more than the main character. Like when you see the main character and he's getting a new power, and you just want to say, "No, get out of the way. I want to see more of this guy." That's great. That's tremendous. Yeah, they can't pull this off with side characters in different media in the West. I just haven't seen it.
I mean, this is what I find so frustrating about shows in the West, is it's very clear audiences like this kind of sophistication. They like the moral ambiguity of having different viewpoints in the show all doing their own thing. They like the richer, more thoughtful exploration of the topic. And then Hollywood is just putting out CGI paintings of nonsense happening for an hour. And it's like, no, that's not right.
Freaking Gojo. So our boy gets accepted into the school here, and the episode ends with them saying that they have one more person to go. And they introduce this chick at the very end. And they never make her that pretty again.
Yeah, a recurring trope in the show. How she's not Sakura.
Yes, but she's very much set up to be Sakura at times.
Honestly, she becomes what I wish Sakura was, a contributing member of the team who holds her own.
Does she really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that far in yet. So far, she's just been Sakura.
I mean, she's there. She does more than Sakura. But okay, I'm gonna grab a cup of coffee while we switch over episodes, and I'll be right back.
Sounds Gucci. I'm going to go ahead and flip over to my last episode notes. How are you guys doing? No, I did not say Harwan. I said there's one of us probably said the hero, or I mean, not that kind of, Darth, All right, episode Suri. Drats, yeah. I'm gonna go for some low grade there. Nah, dog, you gotta get on board with the gummies in Minecraft. Yeah. Jeepers. My face. Sunshine, lollipops, rainbows, and gumdrops. Everything is beautiful. Birds flying high. You know how I feel. You feel exponentially better? Well, that's good. Gotta improve every day better than the day before, right? This is the way. Yes, sir. Melissa, what's up? Here you going? Here you going? We're doing a little anime review here. Doing the first 3 episodes of this this Jujutsu Kaisen. Jujutsu Kaisen, by the way, in English is sorcery fight. Ooh. I thought that was interesting. You're coming in on the ass, and we're just about to get into episode 3 of this. We just kind of pop on through the episodes and give the main points of what's going on and our little thoughts on it, and that's kind of what we're doing here.
All right, I'm back.
Hello, comrade Monkey Man. We instantly lost 2 people when I said that.
Apparently, you're not allowed to enjoy anime if you're Russian.
I guess not. Sorry, I'll go back. We have Kolesnikov there. So we instantly go back to his dorm room, and we see that he's been put right next to this dude, Fushiguro. So now he's not only going to school with him in the same class.
Did you mean to pull something up before you started?
What'd I pull up?
Oh, just nothing.
Oh, just nothing. Good.
Yeah, I was
Good.
wondering if you had meant to pull up episode 3 before we got into it.
Of course I meant to do that and did that already. See?
Oh, yeah, I was clearly blind. My bad.
Yes, see? Shayna in the chat. Remember, no Russian. So he gets put next to his buddy Fushiguro, and he's all for that, but he says this is not welcome because he's not only going to school with him in the same class, he is going to be working with him in the same area, and now he's living next to him. So he's just not about it at all. He comes out, wakes up, and he says these guys are being loud, and like he's just slamming doors on this fool. So they've already got this whole dynamic going between them pretty good at this point. They've been together since episode 1. And then they introduce this chick. And I got to tell you, right off the bat, I swear they wrote her not to be liked. Here she is. So this guy's like a fashion scout or something. And this chick's not interested. And she grabs him and she's like, "What about me? Yeah, what do you think about me?"
Yeah, it's a little awkward. And here you see the Sakura strike. This is why some of the people are making the comparison.
Well, I think this is like how she's supposed to be represented in actuality. Oh gosh, Darth, you watch your horror mouth. In my chat, dirtying my chat, Darth. All right. But with this stature, I think this is like how she's supposed to be represented, like really gorilla-like, very broad for a woman, and strong as hell. Like she can lift a man up.
Yep.
So she tells her new compatriots here that they should be grateful and that she's the group's new girl, or she's the group's girl. Like, she's the girl of the group. Just setting her up to be the generic Sakura. Like she even said it. I don't know how you can't let me make her Sakura.
Great pause.
I don't. I did nothing. So immediately she's just judging these guys, and she hates them. Like she is the most unlikable person in her head, in her own head. Because we get a peek into what they're thinking pretty easily with how they set up anime like this.
She calls it unfortunate circumstances. She has to work with the two of them.
She called him a potato, and she called him, I don't know, a psycho that rips the feathers off of seagulls.
Yeah, it was special.
Do you think she was written to be unlikable? Because I straight up think she was.
I think she was meant to start that way.
Okay. She does have the they both have the very relatable aspect, or like, I don't know, it's very down to earth that they're just country kids. So every time the teacher mentions that they're going to the city, they get all giddy and they start acting like children because he says they're going to Tokyo.
He said they were going on a tour.
Yeah, so they get all happy and stuff, and this is I don't know, I find this super relatable when they start doing this crap, and they're like, no, this isn't this, that's from there, you idiot.
So they're already planning out what all they're going to visit when, the guy who's helpfully taking them on a tour goes, surprise, it's an abandoned building. And the only person not actually surprised by this is Fushiguro, who's had to deal with Gojo for a while, and therefore knew this was always going to be exactly this.
It is a building seeping with cursed energy, smack dab in the middle of a big city, so he wasn't lying about that. But we learn here that big cities bring something else besides, tourist attractions. Oh, here we also get a little explanation about cursed energy, and that now that he has it, not Fushiguro.
Itadori.
Yes, thank you. Itadori has Yuji. He has this cursed energy now, but he can't use it right now. So he has to use something like this to channel his energy and just kind of makeshift slash it, I guess. I loved this face. Oh,
It's pretty good.
did you have any notes in between this next point?
No, just that they head inside after, surprise mission.
Yeah. Just more setup for their teacher and how he is.
And the two of them don't get along on the mission and end up going different ways.
So he ends up going and fighting this thing and takes it out pretty easily, actually. He's very adaptable to these situations and different weapons, it would seem. And He's actually enjoying his work so far.
I mean, this is
Notable
definitely
smiles
the
on his
good part of the
face.
job. It's only
Yeah,
later in
pop.
the series that you learn about the bad part.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, from what I've been told, it gets pretty grim. Gojo.
They're
He
just hanging
knows it.
out outside. Gojo's having opinions about the students and talking about what he's testing them based on. Partly just that if you want to survive fighting cursed spirits, you have to be a little bit crazy yourself because normal people can't handle the situation.
So he mentions that these two have already been tested, so he's just testing the girl. And Fushiguro here, the big spiky, black-haired spiky kid, mentions that the girl already has experience. So that's interesting. I didn't really expect that, knowing that she comes from elsewhere outside the city. You know, I figured jujutsu would be a city thing because they just have the one school.
Hmm. Technically, two. There's this one and another one.
Oh, okay. I guess I don't know about the other school yet.
I think they mentioned it, but only in passing as they were like walking towards it.
So we get a look into her powers, and she uses this crazy nail ability and a little hammer, and that kind of reminded me of Amy Rose from Sonic. And we get a little glimpse into her backstory, which just seems obligatorily like grim.
It is. But this is where you start to see that the characters have very different motivations from each other, even though they're all doing the same thing.
What I'm excited to see is the mindsets at play more, because I've seen a lot of the anime where it's just fighto fighto. So she doesn't even detect this thing, and it comes out of the wall and grabs this kid. And now we learn that in bigger cities, the intelligence gained by these things gives them an edge. So this thing realizes that it's a lower level demon or a lower level curse, but it takes this freaking kid as a hostage. And immediately it's a tougher situation. So because there's higher concentrations of hatred and malice in cities than there can be in rural areas, it it gives the curses there more power. I think that's the way it was explained.
And here we
So
see Itadori just punch through a wall.
yeah, this is another big Naruto trope, right? Like the hero comes in, saves the day, and the Sakura can't really do anything right now. Like she was about to resign herself and die in some horrible way. And then he's like, boom, hey, what's up? Cuts the thing's arm off, saves the kid. And then she actually comes through and does some kind of barrier technique or whatever, and that thing just gets dunned. And then we get another little flashback into her childhood. More character motivation, like Mike said.
And more of her just being genuinely unlikable.
I couldn't say it better. I just don't understand the point of writing her like that. I guess, okay, I think redeemed people, like being redeemed from this point makes you more likable.
Yeah, I mean, so you have to understand her and who she is at this moment, right? She's this country girl whose like older mentor slash friend got chased out of the rural village because of their biases. And she wants to get to the city and reconnect with her if that's possible. And just get the hell out of where she was, the small town that did all of this to the lady who was so kind to her. And Itadori is like, "You're willing to die over this?" And she's like, "I am, because it means being true to myself." And so you start to see that she is a little bit crazy and has her own motivations that may not be as, I don't know, traditional as the main characters, Itadori's, but are every bit as important to her and that she's willing to follow through on.
I guess I didn't look at it like that, but from that frame, it is a pretty good setup for a character.
I think good plots come from having, I don't want to use the word diverse because it's been so ruined, but varied characters with different motivations and reasons for doing what they're doing, and then looking at what would happen if those people really were in a group together. And so between the, I guess, more traditionally in the sorcerer world, Fushiguro, the shonen protagonist Itadori, and then this other like, no, I just need to get the hell out of my rural town, Kugasaki, you start to see that these are very different people who all sort of have been forced into the same ridiculous circumstances. I think that's what drives a lot of the plot, or at least drives the quality of it, as they're sort of moving from shonen trope to shonen trope. And so that psychological richness is built from the layers and the personalities involved.
Yes, and now we have the full Team Ninja 7.
It's true.
And then we get a little look into the next episode, and it tells you that 3 students from this school go to deal with a curse that some people could actually see, like normal people could see, and that's how powerful it was. And one of them dies, and then it cuts to the ending. And gosh, they like their cliffhangers with these anime.
I was gonna say, this show is the epitome of just cliffhanger every time.
Well, there you go. That's A Hero is Born. Or I'd like to say a hero was eaten into existence.
Certainly ways to interpret it. But I think it really sets the groundwork for what the show becomes later on, as it starts to explore some of the personalities and themes that it's hinted at in these first few episodes.
Yeah, I could see people watching these episodes and thinking, okay, yeah, this is Naruto.
It starts off a lot closer to Naruto than it ends up. And I think that's almost on purpose, where they very self-awarely sort of created a similar start to get people on board, and then took it in a completely different direction.
I had to mute myself. I was I was in Discord still. Yeah, absolutely. I think I wanted to say from an art standpoint, just from like a art design standpoint, this is an interesting show. They use completely different animation techniques than some other ones on the I don't want to say market, but like just out there today,
Yeah.
It doesn't feel so copy pasty.
It definitely develops into a very unique one. I don't know how far you've made it through the first season, but as it goes on, you'll see it's less and less like a lot of things like Naruto. Here, the power of friendship will not save the day.
Good. I hope talking the other villain to death also won't save the day.
No, in fact, that's one of the things I like about it. Sometimes they have great speeches, fail to understand each other, and one of them dies.
Ooh. Very interesting. There you go, Mike, giving you a little setup for the show and what's to come too. I think we should definitely do this again. I think we could develop this a bit, and it could be pretty fun. Um, more seat of the pants stuff. I like this this little notepad setup here. This is good, and then just kind of flying off of that, that's pretty good.
We should do either 2 or 4 next time, just because of how the episodes break. That we don't want to be in the middle of something.
Okay. Well, maybe we could do cliffhangers of our own. I don't know.
Oh, it would fit with the show's theme.
It would. It would. All right. Well, I'm gonna bring this to a close here. So thank you guys for watching. Shano, the power of friendship does nothing with this show. Sorry. I'll see you on Discord in a second, y'all. Peace out and have a great day.
Take care, everyone.
Peace. Peace. Ba-da-ba.